Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. Junior doctors begin 4 days of strike action. Appointments and operations cancelled. We're in Berkshire, Bucks and Hampshire.
The government is just waiting, kicking the can down the road, and unless they come to the table to negotiate, then we're going to be seeing more of this.
Major work on Oxford's Botley Road now shut for 6 months. Taxi drivers say closing the key route will cost them business.
Also tonight, 8 games without a win and trouble for the Royals as they sack their manager Paul Ince.
And the sun has been shining for much of the school break so far, but has our luck finally run out? I'll be back with the forecast where you are a little later.
Good evening. A junior doctor in Berkshire has said that unless the government comes to the table to negotiate, there'll be more strike action. Junior doctors have been outside hospitals in Berkshire, Buckinghamshire and Hampshire as they take part in a 4-day walkout.
Well, across the country, more than 250,000 appointments, including operations, could be cancelled in the dispute about pay and conditions by members of the British Medical Association. The Health Minister says the pay rise junior doctors are asking for remains unaffordable. With more, here's Mel Blaw.
Swapping their scrubs for high-vis jackets, junior doctors joined picket lines across the Thames Valley today. The strike centre around a pay row between the British Medical Association and the government, with the union claiming junior doctors in England have seen a 26% real terms pay cut since 2008 because pay rises have been below inflation.
We're working in a healthcare system which is wholly inadequately funded and staffed at the moment. We know that we're short of about 8,500 doctors, and 40% of doctors at the moment are actively pursuing careers outside of the NHS, outside of the country in different professions.
Junior doctors make up 40% of the medical workforce and take on a number of responsibilities, from writing drug charts to performing brain surgery. NHS managers have said patient care is on a knife edge because of the strike, and staff will be asked to prioritise emergency care over routine treatment.
The NHS says appointments and operations will only be cancelled where unavoidable, and patients will be offered alternative dates as soon as possible. But it's feared many could still end up paying a price.
I'm going into the hospital right now, and is there going to be somebody the other side of the door? I don't know.
What they're asking this day and age, after COVID and all that, is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I do think they're right to ask for what they are, but obviously it does cause a lot of disruption.
The government argues a full pay restoration would amount to a 35% pay rise, with some junior doctors seeing an increase of more than £20,000.
We are ready to have discussions with them, but clearly a demand for 35%, over £20,000 for some junior doctors is not fair or reasonable, and that is why we've not been able to make progress so far.
More than 7 million patients are currently on the NHS waiting list, and many fear this strike will only add to the backlog and pressure hospitals are facing. The BMA says it hopes this round of industrial action will be the last, but warns it will continue if the government doesn't budge. Mel Blaw, ITV News.
In other news, a 17-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with the rape of 2 girls in Aylesbury. Between 9:30 and 10:10 on the evening of Saturday, the 8th of April, 2 girls in their teens were on the canal towpath near Park Street when they were attacked. A 17-year-old boy from Bedfordshire has been released on police bail.
Plans to redevelop the land around the former Honda factory in Swindon will go before councillors this evening. The car plant closed in 2021 after 36 years in the town. The 370-acre site is owned by developer Panattoni, that wants to build new business and distribution units. If the development goes ahead, it would create around 7,000 jobs.
A major work lasting 6 months has begun on the Botley Road in Oxford so the railway station can be redeveloped.
Well, it's a key route into the city from the west and will be closed until October and then again for a similar length of time next year.
Well, Network Rail has apologised for the disruption, but some taxi drivers we've spoken to say it's going to cost them business. Charlotte Edney has the story.
No scenes of gridlock, no traffic madness. If anything, drivers heeded warnings and the Botley Road felt quieter than usual.
It seems perfectly fine. Got the marshals out, so they're directing people.
I must say it's nice to be able to breathe a bit of clean air.
Worry a bit about the local businesses and how they'll manage. For me personally, it's been great.
The directions when we got here were very clear, so we just went our way.
Oh, that's crazy. Why it takes 2 years to make a bridge?
Yes, there was some confusion, but with help on hand and plenty of signs, cyclists, pedestrians and commuters seem to be coping.
People seem to have got the message well in advance that the road is closing. Pedestrians and cyclists who are all responding very well to the marshals that are out on the ground. So I think it's been quite a positive start so far.
The road closure sees bus passengers alighting early, then walking the remaining 450 metres to the station. Some may need to catch a second bus on the other side or finish their journey on foot. It's left many worried about the impact on those with mobility challenges, as only 12 accessible shuttles a week are being provided by Network Rail.
Well, this is ridiculous, stopping here. Why can't the council allow to stop further up? Doesn't make sense.
There are some concerns about, how long it might take to get to hospital appointments and medical appointments, etc. And those people with mobility issues, there's obviously concerns for them.
Among those most affected are taxi drivers, who now endure extensive diversions for some routes.
At the moment, it's created a bit of a mess for us. It adds on time and money on passengers' journeys. I mean, you can imagine where they would normally do a mile or 2 mile trip down the Botley Road from the station. Now they're having to do probably 6 or 7 miles.
I mean, normally from here to Botley costs about between £10. If we go around, it's going to cost about maybe £15 to £20. And they just want to pay that, it's too much.
The £161 million project will ultimately mean a bigger, better station, more freight and passenger rail services and additional capacity. The road layout should also be improved.
Is it busy? Yes. Is it chaos? Not that we've seen this morning, but there are real concerns that when schools and universities go back next Monday, things could look a lot worse.
This first 6-month closure will allow 11 separate utility companies to move cables and pipes currently underground. The road will then reopen for winter before being shut again for a further 6 months next year. Charlotte Edney, ITV News, Oxford.
Well, you are watching ITV News, Meridian. We're very glad you're with us this evening. Coming up, Sarah will have the sport, including the very latest on Reading with SAP manager Paul Ince. Also on the way.
111 years since the Titanic set sail on its fateful journey from Southampton, its story recreated in a musical here at the Mayflower Theatre.
So that's still to come. Plenty more news, of course, from around the Thames Valley on our website. itv.com/Meridian, as ever, is the address. You can call us if you have a story idea you think we ought to be covering, 0808 1010 095. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Now, there's a warning to dog owners in North Hampshire after what's thought to be a python was spotted in a popular walking spot. The 6-foot-long snake is believed to be a rock or carpet python and was seen in the Hawley Meadows area at Blackwater near Farnborough on Sunday. It's thought to be the same snake seen 2 miles away in Oakfield Road in Blackwater on Friday. Experts say a snake of that size can eat small animals, including dogs. Well, police are asking anyone who sees it to call 101. Really hope it is the same snake. Otherwise, there are running around, do you? 2 snakes. Next, young people are experiencing what's being called an epidemic on climate anxiety. 1 in 3 in Britain are scared, sad or pessimistic about climate change, according to a YouGov poll. Well, the Woodland Trust says poor access to green spaces in this country is adding to the problem, and planting more trees for future generations should be a priority. With more on this, here's Amrit Birdie.
Climate change is a concern for many of us. As scientists warn, the clock is ticking on saving our planet. But for many young people, this concern has grown into climate anxiety, with 7 out of 10 under 25s actively worried about climate change and its effects. This group of students from the University of Winchester say climate anxiety has become part of their daily life.
Young people are especially worried because we see it on the news, on Instagram and other social media sites. We hear stories from around the world of how the climate is changing and impacting various communities.
A worry, I think, about the environment, about the future is like a primary fixture of our generation.
We've got decades of life with us nowadays. We have to live with this, and we have to worry about bringing children into this world, which are going to have to deal with the effects of climate change for generations to come.
A new poll by YouGov reveals 1 in 3 young people in Britain are scared, sad or pessimistic about climate change. 1 in 4 said these worries mean they're considering or have already decided to have fewer children than they would otherwise like. And less than 1 in 10 said they felt they had any influence in making decisions about climate change.
Young people are growing up at a time when so many of them and their friends are struggling with their mental health. A huge factor in that is how disempowered they feel, how alienated from society, and how they don't feel listened to on some of the big issues that matter to them. Climate change is a huge one of those.
The research was commissioned by the Woodland Trust, who believe one way to help tackle the problem would be to create more green spaces, like a natural health service.
It's getting people out and being able to benefit from both the physical and mental well-being that you come from being out in nature.
The Young People's Forest is 400 acres of new trees, individually planted by young people in the hope of creating a connection to nature for future generations. Elise White was one of the volunteers and says being involved with the project has helped alleviate some of her climate anxiety.
Obviously, there's no doubt that the climate crisis is ongoing, and places like the Young People's Forest here, we're planting trees for our generation and for future generations, so we'll see that difference. But it's also about the teamwork and the groups that we come out with, so they can grow up with the forest and know that they're actually making that difference, not just sitting back and watching it happen.
The government aims for every household to be within a 15-minute walk of green space or water, and they told us they're improving green spaces in over 100 urban communities. But without urgent action, many young people fear their climate anxiety will get worse, as the impact of global warming affects them the most. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
I don't think it's just young people, though, that are frightened of the climate. I know here, when you see all the pictures that are going on, it does make you very anxious for the future, whether you've got children or not. And where I would take my dog for a walk, they've started to plant some trees, and it is quite lovely to see. Just the trees just lining the path.
Yeah,
you've got nothing
getting
there,
people outside.
Exactly, so let's all plant some trees. Now, the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. For more, let's to London and Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, the longest ever walkout on the wards. Junior doctors are on strike with no sign of the pay dispute being settled as the government calls union demands unrealistic. Security steps up in Belfast ahead of President Biden's historic visit to mark the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Peace Agreement. And the performance troupe blazing a trail for dancers with disabilities. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
But before all that, let's get some sports. Sarah joins us in the studio. Good evening.
Thank you, Matt. Well, we start tonight with the developments today from Reading, where Paul Ince has been sacked, and former Royals favourite Noel Hunt is stepping up from his role as under-21 boss to take interim charge for the rest of the season. The decision was made following yesterday's defeat at Preston to a stoppage time winner. Ince, who took on the role permanently last May, leaves the club without a win in their past 8 games. And the Royals are sitting 22nd in the Championship, having been deducted 6 points last week for breaching the terms of a business plan set by the English Football League. Well, our football roundup tonight does start with what turned out to be Paul Ince's final game in charge.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
In his final post-match interview as a Royal, Paul Ince said,
We all make mistakes, but the decision-making can't always come from me. He was lamenting what would be his final game in charge. Defeat at Preston eventually leading to his sacking. One bright spot, young striker Kelvin Ehibatioman, who had on 83 minutes looked to have earned his side a point. Oxford United are another team looking perilously close to the drop after battling out a goalless draw at Port Vale. The U's sit just 2 points from safety. Portsmouth's hopes of reaching the playoffs are all but over after failing to find the net against Morecambe at Fratton Park. Rico Hackett came close in the dying seconds. On to League Two, where Crawley Town are looking at potential non-league football next season unless they can turn things around at speed. The Red Devils couldn't match Barrow, who fired themselves back into the playoff race. And Swindon Town left Tranmere empty-handed, with the Merseyside team ending their run of 6 games without a win. So just 4 or 5 games to go for most of our Football League teams. It's going to be a bumpy ride, isn't it? Hold on tight.
We certainly will. I have to say, I mean, I'm not the biggest football fan, shall we say, but I can't believe there's that many matches left. It's gone very quickly this season.
It certainly has, yeah, but some important ones to come.
We shall look and watch. Thank you very much, Sarah. Now, it was one of the biggest moments in Southampton's history, and this week it's being recreated on the stage of the Mayflower Theatre.
Titanic, the musical, has won awards for its portrayal of the lives of those on board, many of whom came from the city. Mary Stanley was at the theatre this afternoon to see the final preparations before opening night.
They're working hard here on the stage, getting everything ready for opening night. The lights and the sound are being set up. This week marks 111 years since the Titanic set sail from Southampton on that fateful journey, which would result in the loss of 1,500 lives. Well, joining us now is Tom Sutherland, who's the director of this show. Some people might find it a bit strange that there's a musical being made out of such a tragedy.
Unusual subject, yes, but I think our production really celebrates the lives of those people who set sail on Titanic on that fateful maiden voyage, and sort of allows us to really pay tribute to their hopes and dreams and aspirations, and what we can learn now about these people who set sail.
And it was such a big part of Southampton's history. What sort of reaction do you get to audiences here?
We played here 5 years ago on the show's first UK tour, and it was such a memorable evening because everybody in this musical, every character that's on stage, has a name of somebody who sailed on the Titanic, and it was a very moving evening to have relatives of those people who sailed watching their relatives on stage and sort of being depicted. It was a celebration of everything that Titanic was and a celebration of everybody who set sail. It really was a special night.
Performing it here in Southampton must be especially poignant. I know you're going around the country, but it must be special to be here.
Really special to be here, and especially during this week, which is sort of the Titanic week, to remember when she set sail and when she tragically sank. But it's very special to be here in Mayflower Theatre.
And what does it mean to the actors and actresses who take part in this?
I think every night they stand on the stage and perform this musical, it's hugely moving for them. Not just because we all know what the ending is, but just the way that composer Maury Yeston has written this score. It really does champion everybody who sets sail and has their individual hopes and dreams, and from that we really can understand these people more than just the historical events. We understand the human aspects of the Titanic.
Thank you very much for joining us. Well, opening night tonight, and after this the show will go across the country and across the world.
Wow, I always like to see the Mayflower Theatre. Such a beautiful theatre, and I do like a musical.
Absolutely, and as Mary was saying there, it's a difficult topic to get your head around in terms of a musical, but it'd be interesting to see how it goes.
Definitely, it's some part of our history, and it's nice to have it portrayed in this way.
Yes, and we wish them all the best of luck on opening night this evening.
Well, now Pip joins us now, and Pip, Now, last week was rather lovely. The sun was shining, almost, I think we even mentioned the spring word many times.
Yeah.
This week, not so good.
Yeah, this week, not so good. Like you say, last week, arguably one of the best weeks we've had so far this year. Like you say, the sun was out. It started to feel almost spring-like, something we've been a little bit short of. So before I bring the mood down entirely, let's have a... yeah, we'll get to it in a minute. Let's have a look at some of the pictures from last week.
Wow.
This first one comes from John Baginski. This was taken at the Manor War Beach on the Dorset coastline. I think probably the only giveaway it's not the height of summer is the lack of people in swimwear and the lack of people in the water. Equally sunny skies along the coast at Selsey, courtesy of John and Jean. Barely a cloud to be seen there, the seagull making the most of it. And would it be Easter without donkeys and Easter bonnets? Phil sent this in from the Donkey Sanctuary on Hayling Island. This is Alfie and Hugo getting into the spirit of things in the sunshine. But as you say, this week nowhere near as good. We've got some wet and windy weather coming, and this is why. Low pressure will be firmly in charge tomorrow. Now, our strongest winds tend to occur on the southern side of a low pressure, so we're going to bear the brunt tomorrow, and we've got this yellow warning coming into force. That will start at 6 a.m. tomorrow. It will run right through the day. Gusts in the region of 60 to 70 miles per hour along the coast. We're all going to feel that tomorrow, I
So
think.
basically, it's a bit like Sarah's sport. It could have gone better, but it didn't.
It can always go better.
Yeah, is it going to go any better?
Do you know, it actually does look a lot better next week. There are signs that things will settle down considerably once again. I don't want to promise anything yet, but not only more settled, also a little bit warmer. Dare I say, by this time next week, we could be edging towards the dizzy heights of around 20 Celsius.
Yay.
So you can possibly use the spring word again by the time we get there.
I like the sound of that.
It's a lot of caveats, wasn't it? You could possibly, I won't promise anything.
Well, let's just hope. You'll be in your shorts next week.
I won't. Full forecast. Here's Pip.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So still a fairly mixed bag of weather to come over the next few days. For the rest of this week, it remains very unsettled. Showers or longer spells of rain. Windy at times, not least tomorrow. And this is why a deep area of low pressure affecting the UK through the next 24 hours or so. On the southern side of that, that's where we'll have the strongest winds. And we could well see gusts in the region of 60 to 70 miles per hour along the coast. Out there at the moment, very cloudy and wet, quite windy with it too. As we head through this evening, the rain will clear away eastwards. Behind it, skies clearing, and underneath the clearest sky, some inland spots possibly dipping low enough for just a touch of grass frost in places. Now you'll notice later in the night a few showers starting to sneak into western parts there. That will very much set the tone to the day tomorrow, and of course tomorrow will be very windy from the word go. A yellow Met Office wind warning coming into force at 6 a.m. and running right through the day into the evening. Those showers really continuing well into the afternoon, lining up into bands, some of them quite heavy, the risk of some hail and thunder, and of course accompanied by those strong winds. It's going to feel pretty fresh out there. These are the times of high water for tomorrow. Ventnor there just past 3:30 in the morning and just past 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then confirmation of the unsettled weather continuing through the rest of this week, albeit with a slight recovery in those daytime temperatures. Bye-bye.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
I'm going to have 2 wet dogs tomorrow. That's all I know. Now, just a moment, the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
That is it from us for this evening. I'm back with your late update just after 10:30 this evening. Plenty more, of course, from us online. But until tomorrow, we'll say goodbye. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.